Hello and welcome to the World Builders Library, Adventures in Economic Gaming. Just wanted you all to know, you thought you could hide it, but I caught you. You're a bunch of weirdos. In no way can the new videos in this series make any sense without seeing at least some of the older ones first. Yet episode 8 is sitting at 259 views, more than 6 and 7 combined. Long live the lunatics, I guess. Doesn't matter anyway. I'm a small station, and there's like one guy that just loves this series. As long as he keeps commenting, I'm going to keep making it. It's good enough for me. I'm Lewis Nichols, by the way. We mostly do world building here in the library, but the economic theory playlist has some traction, and I'm curious to see where it goes. If you're into fantasy cartography, world building by biome, government, culture, all that stuff, try the other playlists. There's lots to choose from. Now, let's resolve last episode, year 6. We are at 5d6 minus 5d4, and the law of averages has come through again. 16 minus 12 is 4 times 1,000 for a mining profit of 4,000 gold pieces. One of these days, the numbers will swing hard, but this is not that year. This is the year for more than one item affecting income. We have a super small payroll expense, so minus 100 gold. We also have the grand caravansary for a d6 minus a d4, that's 6 minus 3. Multiply that by 100 for 300. All in, we have made 4,200 gold pieces this year. Yeah, the mine is still almost everything. Our trade roll sucks. With penalties, it's a dirty one. That means a lot of that electrum profit is unspendable, locked up as ore. But we'll deal with that later. The amenities roll is good. I have to explain that as our bard and cleric, members of the controlling fighting team. You remember the Ponderosa posse. It's gotta be the two of them satisfying the town's need for entertainment. With a roll of 17, Armitage will grow from 245 to 320. There's no chart for this. I think it has to be a GM decision based on many factors. I suppose we could create a chart that takes into account the immediate local factors. That might be a project for later. I do think that I'm going to rule that one or two of these families, let's say two families, have come from the barbarian lands. They have moved in. Makes sense. After all, those lands are closer than the homeland of Manzamea. Alright, we've got one more partial pass on the security roll. I'm going to do it with advantage due to the posse's active role in dealing with problems from a few years ago. This is going to give us a 15, so no new problems. Next year, the roll will be back to 1 dice, so hold on to your wallets. Here we go, something new. We're rolling industry. The dice says an 8, but what does that mean? Well, what I'm going to use it to mean is that there are a few new shops moving in. I'm not going to decide exactly what they are in this episode, but Armitage is underserved. How you logic this out is what a DM is for. I think that our historically poor trade rolls justify the low development. Lack of skills, too. Almost everyone in town can be classified as a miner or low-skill laborer. We have almost no education here. However, there is money. So, simple businesses should be profitable. It's just slow growing with bad dice rolls. Now, I'm not just going to leave the industry score at that. We're going to need to work up some solid guidelines on how it works. Our next resolution step is score improvements. Not all the rolls were great, but, hey, we suck. The bar is low, and even bad tries usually mean improvement. Infrastructure improves. This is a big deal because it means next year we get to assign a third expert. Religion goes up by 2 because both the expert was assigned and 1,000 gold invested. The sheriff's office improves as well, as does our trade score. Our last issue to close out is the posse themselves. They adventured last season and they went about it the right way. They researched options, planned their year, and stayed focused. In a game, this would have probably been 5 to 10 sessions. I am definitely moving them up to 8th level. There was a success roll, by the way. It was a flat D20 roll with a +6 based on a really nice investigation roll that plotted their course. The total was, well, it was a 10, even with the +6. I had already decided the profit formula. It was going to be D20 plus that 6 times 1,000. They could have profited up to 26,000 gold, but they didn't. Instead, it was 10,000 gold. Still not terrible. In the end, they decided to put 5,800 into the city for a total of 10,000 available for next year's budget. Well, we're 700 words in, folks. Don't be surprised if I find a way to streamline this introduction and the first section in future videos. Tell me what you think. Is it getting redundant? Let me know in the comments. Alright, new business in theory. This is chapter 2. We're going to start with a quick Q&A. This comes from a comment from the last video. These are going to be simple answers that might get expanded later on. The questions are paraphrased. I am probably putting the post on the screen. You probably see it now. Being outside state borders, what currency does Armitage use? So they are outside the borders, but they're kind of outside the borders the way what we in the U.S. Think of like Wyoming and the territories were. It was still considered future land. These were still primarily quote-unquote Americans doing the exploring. Almost everybody in town is from Manzamea. They use the Screaming Eagle gold piece. Often it's just called the Screamer. It's a lightweight gold piece, about half a D&D standard gold piece. This is world building flavor. When we're talking numbers, when we're talking formula, when we're talking anything, we're using standard D&D gold pieces. Now, silver pennies are also used, as well as barter among the poor. Alright, we talk a lot about security. What factions put Armitage at risk? So, the barbarians, illegal elements from inside the borders of Manzamea. You could potentially have competing nobility that wants a piece of the gold mine. I'm going to put some kobold tribes out in the desert, and there might be other stuff. I'm not going to claim to have defined everything yet. Number 3, this was a good one. This stumped me for just a second. I had to think about it. With no trees, what does Armitage use for fuel? Imported wood, coal, and charcoal. Probably mostly charcoal. I picked this up from a lot of world builder type games, city builder stuff that starts back old period. Charcoal is a good alternative source for coal. I loved this part of the question. What about squatters? So I believe what the commenter was getting at is, what keeps like a gold dragon from moving in, or a bunch of dwarven miners just, kind of nudging their way into the action. I've kind of taken a little bit more generalized, just the idea of a big group showing up in mass. It's kind of a boon situation with consequences. And it's definitely something I'm going to think about in the future. It probably needs to be on a potential events chart, because this is definitely a scenario where that kind of influx could happen. Unrest among the barbarians, it could be refugees. It could be refugees out of Manzamea, or it could be groups from these other two kingdoms, especially as we start to make more contact. All right, our feature of the episode, long-term planning. First of all, major homework fail. I asked you guys to give a few ideas about how this could move forward, about what kind of plans the Ponderosa posse could make to continue to develop the town, get away from the electrum mining a little bit, and work on other big projects. Just complete silence. Nobody's interested, but that's okay. I'll do it myself. First off, I want to state that current assessments of the mine indicate that it could operate at its current rate for a century or more. Putting it into formula terms, somewhere around 15th level is probably going to become unprofitable to keep developing it. However, that's a pretty good chunk of money. However, after level 10, we could potentially add a new wrinkle, like the likelihood of turning up bonus gems becoming a set percentile, so that you would have the formula plus more. So a 15th level mine might turn out a formula something like 15d6 minus 15d4 times 1,000, and then adding to that a 2 to 5% chance of a d20 plus 1,000 in bonus finds. It's a small percentage, but in the long term, it would definitely make a difference. That could potentially bring up a 17,000 profit year-to-year average. Nice, but not great. It means we need to look into something bigger. The Ponderosa Posse, even now, can make profits that big in a good year. In 10 or 15 years from now, I mean, they're going to be the kind of, if they survive, the kind of adventuring party, even as NPCs, that are bringing in hundreds of thousands of gold pieces a year. It's dangerous work, but it can be done. It's what adventurers do. So they need to do better than this average of 17,000 profit per year on the mines. Now, the good news is that the gold income that this Electrum mine is producing is enough to get into something bigger, to use your profit from the investments to do more investing and make bigger profits. Now, things I thought about, basically ideas that the posse was throwing around with each other and their trusted friends and fellow adventurers, their followers, other townsfolk, basically all the NPCs chatting in my head. Marshal services, developing a mercenary force. Education. I think it's a neat idea to try to develop some kind of unique institution, or at least semi-unique. I thought about different things like developing a monastery, trying to develop a group of monks. Mages College, I mean, since there is a wizard in the group, that's an obvious choice. You can also do this with temples. Now, we've hinted at trade a lot. I've talked about trade a lot, long distance trade, and I kind of like the idea. So let's quit freelancing and move to the next paragraph. Let's stay off script. So when you're working this out for the party, for your players in an actual campaign, you need to try to give them facts and information to work with. However, it needs to be with the understanding that things change. Their plans might change, your plans might change, and you might give them all this information based on what the circumstances are that they are aware of. But in the back of your mind, you know that something else is happening that can severely affect the future of their decisions. And just let them make it. Okay, I take it back. It depends upon what kind of game you're running. I run event-based. So if I know that there is a war with the barbarians coming, it's set. The players have to, if they stumble into that information, great. If they get lucky and make the decisions that float with it, great. If they pick the wrong thing and it goes bad for them, well, that's unfortunate. But, an open world is like the real world in that some things, bad things happen to nice people. Just no matter what you do, sometimes you're in front of the whirlwind and you get swept away a little bit. You can still make allowances. You can change your plans. It's really how the interaction's going with your players. In a more plot-based world, in a world that you really feel like you're working toward certain outcomes for your players, then that's fine. Change things, make it work. make it more stable for your players so they don't get screwed by choosing the wrong coin flip decision. So this is how I prognosticate as a DM what their path to trade might eventually look like. So the idea that they're heading for is several state-owned trade routes and outposts along those routes. Each one of those would be independent formulas. Potentially, Armitage could have 4 trade routes, each one producing something like 10d6 minus 10d4 times 1,000 in profit. The caravansary would be the hub of all this. The outpost down on the river, well, there's going to have to be an outpost down on the river. It makes too much sense. Maybe I should have put Armitage on the river to start with, but no takebacks. We're going to deal with it. This is a hurdle to overcome. It could make things better. It could be a constant headache. Doesn't matter. We're going to deal with it. So an outpost on the river could also be very profitable. The individual outposts, the smaller ones, would probably have a lower potential. But kind of in my head, I'm adding up all this, and it could easily turn into everything with a yearly profit of around 100,000. Definitely an improvement over the mine. So, more NPC conversations in my head, them asking me questions, doing some guesswork on how things might look going forward. Combined with taxes on Armitage businesses profiting from this trade, an advanced educational system, and profits from leasing out mercenary forces, that could easily lead to the posse getting into that 500,000 gold per year profit range, maybe even more on some years. And that's really where a higher level party needs to be in my head. Now, everybody's economy, idea, and expectations when you get to this level, they start to diverge. But just as I think of a D&D world, individual high-level fighters, mages, whatever, want to be near this kind of 500,000 guaranteed income as a group. Obviously, individually lower, but lots of variance. Lots of variance on the world, lots of variance group to group. What this means is that they can pick their jobs. They can pick high-profile jobs. They can pick low-profile jobs if that's what they want. Or they can just retire. And, they are on the top of the luxury food chain in almost every D&D setting, by far. All right, so minor disaster. My script self-destructed. Tried for a bit to open the file, but it's just not happening. I believe that we have covered all the major Chapter 2 beats. We've determined Armitage is investing in trade first. Well, second, after the mine and the basics, of course. Electrum funds trade expansion, then trade money funds state-run for-profit education. Whereas the Electrum mine is the foundation of the town of Armitage, something like a wizard's academy becomes the catalyst that will turn it into a city. Alright, so plans for next year. We have 10,000 gold pieces in the budget. Let's spend it. First off, the posse is trapped. They have to make another run to Manzamea to sell ore and pick up some trade goods. They're also spending about 3,000 gold there to recruit general population, experts, and anyone willing to start a business. The caravansary is going to be used for +1 bonus to our next amenities roll. Our military wing is giving us +1 to security as governed by the sheriff's department. And the House of Goodwill, or whatever strangeness I named this place, it's going to give us +1 to trade as they are tasked with bringing in barbarian merchants. We get 3 experts. We're going to put them in infrastructure, industry, and the military. And that still leaves us 7K to invest. We're going to bank 3 for next year just in case, and spend 1,000 each on trade, the market, amenities, and the sheriff's office. I guess now that original script is gone, we'll never know if these are my first choices. I would like to think that my logic is strong enough that we'd come back to the same decisions. But we really do have lots of scores that need to improve. Now relax, we have years to make this work. I'm glad that you guys all joined me today. As usual, remember to do the stuff. Hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. That would be awesome. I love talking to you folks. And if you've made it this far, use one of those links at the end of the video to connect to another one of my videos. I've heard that the algorithm really likes that. And you don't have to actually watch the other video. Just watch 15, 20, 30 seconds of it. If it doesn't catch you as interesting, turn it off. All right, as usual, if you did none of those things, and most of you won't, it's fine. I am still glad that you stopped by, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of the day. Cheers.